Hello, everyone, and welcome back to On the Kerbs IndyCar Edition. I'm your host, Nate Woods, and we're back to review the latest round of the 2026 NTT IndyCar season, the Sonsio Grand Prix from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Joining me once again is our co-host, Mr. Thiemo Albers-Daly. Thiemo, how we doing?
Really good, thank you, Mr. Woods. We were treated at the weekend to
Whew.
quite the race, especially coming off
Oh,
the back of a lackluster long week, let's say, and I didn't know
yes.
quite what to expect. You see Alex Blow's on pole, you think, oh dear Lord, here we go again, half a second clear of the field, and then we get this race. So I was very
Yes.
relieved. How are you?
Oh, man, it is May in central Indiana. It's the best time to be alive. Can't wait.
It ain't bad.
Yeah, we're recording this on Tuesday morning here in Indianapolis, and we're only like well, 5 short hours away from when the track opens for the
It's going to
first day
start
of
going pretty quickly from here
Indy
on out.
practice. Yeah, yeah. But let's uh, let's concentrate on what we've got in front of us right now.
Mm,
One of
mm.
the
We'll
best
get we'll get we'll
races of
get
the season.
sidetracked at the best of
Yeah,
times anyway, so let's try
yeah,
and knuckle
yeah.
in.
We got the best race of the season, or what I think is the best race so far. And we
Definitely
were talking
contender.
before the show about whether this race was better than the Phoenix race. Uh, I think we're in the
Happy to
consensus that these
disagree.
are. I think we're happy to disagree, but we both agree that those two races are so close in how good they were that it's hard to tell.
And,
It's like trying to
and
pick a
two
favorite
races
child.
on different course styles as
Yeah,
well. You know, it's an oval via street course, and I think that's what we want to be doing at the end of the season, right? Is disagreeing on which one was the best race because it means we had one. We didn't just have one race that was good.
yeah.
We had multiple that were like, this could be it. This could be it.
Yes, yeah. Well, before we get into talking about the Sonsio Grand Prix, we do have a bit of news to get to. We had some really sad news in the racing world this past week with the passing of Alex Zanardi.
Yeah, it's just the records that man had was kind of bigger belief. It was obviously big news in the Formula One world, but then you go onto a different channel, you go, oh yeah, of course IndyCar as well. Then you go over and you're like, oh yeah, then we've got Olympics and
Yeah,
Paralympics and World Championships there, and like the guy put a lot of effort into everything he did, and he reaped the rewards out of it and didn't really let anything get in his way.
yeah, yeah. I got to see him actually race in person um, in the late '90s, but then I got to see him race again after his accident in a
Mm.
sports car. And so,
So that's before you get to sports cars. We're just talking about like the big headline
yeah,
stuff before you
right.
get to
Yeah.
everything else that he somehow managed to do.
And no matter, both times that I got to see him race in person, you knew that you're watching something special
Hmm.
and that he was going to be a top tier athlete no matter what discipline he was in. Doesn't matter if it was
And you
race
can't say that
cars,
for everyone.
paracycling, yeah. And so very sad news to hear of his untimely passing. Another untimely passing.
I thought that might be the
Kind
segue you went with.
of, when we had our open testing in Indianapolis before the Grand Prix, Roman Grosjean uh, took a bird to the helmet.
Which is not a euphemism. He took a literal bird to the helmet,
That's
and
right.
it
Yeah.
did not go well at all. Unsurprisingly, birds lost. And Peter weren't happy about it,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
understand on the one hand, but also, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's going to happen so quickly. You can't swerve, and even if you could, you don't want to swerve on the oval at Indy.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a. He's already done enough crashes of magnitude in his life. He does not need to
Right.
do another one here. We don't need to tempt fate.
Yeah.
But they rather amusingly ish sent him some vegan chicken nuggets. I'm not quite sure why, but it was just not again the interaction we thought we'd be seeing as we headed into the month of May.
Yeah. Yeah. And the second day of practice, we saw a fox out on the track as well.
Yeah,
And
Takuma Sato with a close
Takuma
encounter.
Sato with a close encounter. And that fox, boy, he went head first into that safer barrier. I don't, the
He
safer
knew where the
barrier,
safety was. Like, I'm getting in there because I
yeah,
can.
I mean, the safety barrier works great for slowing cars down, but it did not look like it did a whole lot of help for that Fox.
I think he just kind of realized a bit too late where he was. And was like, I just
Where
need
he
to get
was.
the heck out of here.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
right.
I'm glad nothing bad happened there, but I'm wondering if Ito was sending Grosjean vegan chicken nuggets. I don't know what they're sending
Yeah,
to Kuma in this instance.
yeah, I'm not sure. Um, you had a note here of some interesting news about Mick Schumacher, and I'm gonna turn
Yeah,
this over to you to dive into this.
yeah. Georgia Hairberry, I think, was the one that broke this when she was having an interview with him prior to the Grand Prix in Sonsio. I think during that testing and his rookie orientation as well for the Indy 500. And he revealed that obviously there was that incident back in St. Petersburg where he was wrong place, wrong time. I think it was Ferrucci and I'm going to assume Stingray Rob, he was involved in some way, and
Yep.
one other driver, I think. He just ended up plowing to the back of that whole thing, nowhere he could go, completely just wrong place, wrong time. We thought nothing more of it at the time, other than that's a really unfortunate way to start
Mhm.
your IndyCar career. Lo and behold, it's worse than that because he appears to have lost a chunk out of his left wrist. It's a whole tendon bone joint problem thing
Hmm.
that's gone wrong with him. He needs surgery post-season, and he's had a steroid shot just at the start of last week at time of recording to help him, which you can only take a certain number of those in a calendar year
Sure.
anyway. So I think this would maybe partly explain why he's not been able to perform as well in certain circumstances, or just at least give you a bit more sympathy for it and kind of like, yeah, some of
Yeah.
the you think about Arlington, for example, a lot of
Hmm.
twisty corners there, a
Yeah.
lot of work there. I'm not saying the ovals are easier, but that was the one Grand Prix where I felt like there was the best chance of him, and there was only the pit stop that screwed him there on that occasion, really, with the pit gun. The rest of the time, it was sort of like, if I could just keep my hand here, this should be fine.
Yeah.
Whereas everywhere else, he's having to move around quite a
Yeah.
bit. So interesting to find that out, and obviously not an ideal situation. So I'm going to have that in the back of my mind now. Whenever he has a bad luck event, the hand. It's nothing to do with the driver.
Well, now we're going into a race where he's going to make 800 left-hand turns. So
If you can just keep it in that position,
that's right. Well, just
then it'll
duct
be
tape
fine.
his right hand to the steering wheel and just let him continue to just turn, right?
This is IndyCar. I feel like you could do that, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
You're a bit more lenient with these sorts of things, and
Yeah.
it's fine.
We got a bit of news prior to the Sonsio Grand Prix that IndyCar was going to finally allow drivers to use the push to pass legally on restarts.
Initially, I didn't have a problem with because I thought, okay, I don't have any immediate reasoning why this would be a problem. Then I listened to the drivers and thought, okay, maybe I have a bit of a problem because they don't seem to like it at all. I'm intrigued, and it was part of the weekend press conference with Graham Rahal, very diplomatic, very polite, but
Mhm.
did not have kind words to say about it. And then you saw as well during the race with Rossi after his kerfuffle that he also was alluding to problems that he had with this being implemented as
Mhm.
well, aside from all the stuff he was having
Yeah.
to deal with during the race. So, yeah, I'm sort of in a mixed bag, Cameron. I mean, where are you sitting with it?
Uh, I am all for it. And
Okay.
there's two reasons why I'm all for it. One was we saw it on track Saturday of how exciting the restarts could be
Mm.
with being able to use the push to pass. I was there at the race, sitting in the turns one, two, three, four complex on the
Wow, we
north
didn't
end of the
see it
track.
from that angle. I couldn't
And
quite spot you. That explains it. Yeah.
you had to look up at the top, very top of the bleachers. So,
I get the
um,
race replay.
but uh, I think it makes for really exciting restarts, and I think this is uh, that we just got the first taste of it. Now, the
Mm.
downside is that this is going to cause some accidents. There's going to be some drivers that are going to be mad because a driver on push to pass came up beside him, cut him off in a turn, and going into the first turn of a restart, or somebody gets pinched down low. It's something's going to happen, and that's just racing. But the other reason why I am in favor of this is that push to pass feature is manually turned on and off by race control. And we've seen it so many times in the last couple of years where we go into a caution flag and race control forgets to turn push to pass off. And drivers are just so used to hitting push to pass that they were hitting push to pass on restarts and getting to use push to pass, and then they were getting penalized after the race for using push to pass. And so this new rule just totally takes that out of the equation. And uh, so I think twofold, I like this idea of being able to use push
Do
to
I
pass
do
on
like
restarts.
the idea as well that we, in theory, won't have the problem that we got to towards the end of Barber, for example, with Malukas when he was hunting down Rahal, where he had this enormous amount of push to pass left versus Rahal's essentially none. And you
Right.
go, why are you not using this? More, I feel like there's more of an opportunity to get that number down, and we saw that already
Mhm.
in Sonsio. The amount of drivers that you still had a third of the race left, and they were almost on nil. And you
Yeah.
go, that's going to be quite interesting to see how someone like Lowe, who's just been hogging it for the entire time,
Hmm.
because he somehow doesn't need to get past people,
Yeah.
will then maybe use that once he's up to fifth to try and get back to the front of
Right.
the field. And that lends an interesting dynamic into towards the end of the race, especially if the races they settle down a little bit after a while, and if this can keep it exciting for longer in the same way that we've seen it with F1 with the new regulations, where you go, okay, it's not perfect, but we're trying something out here to see if we can drag this out a bit longer, so there's more of a fight. Then I'm willing to try it, and if it doesn't work in
Yeah.
Malta, fine. But I'd rather we try and fail than just not do anything.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that works in the other races this season. I would hope that they do it for the ovals as well. But
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is the Indy 500 is obviously the next race? That's already a race that doesn't necessarily need aids in overtaking at the best of
right.
times or even at the
Yeah.
worst of times. But imagine what you could see if you have that into it. I don't know how that would work, but that's
Yeah.
not my job anyway. I'm here to
Yeah.
watch.
I think maybe we'll try it on a smaller oval first, maybe Milwaukee or something.
Yeah,
But
watch this at the paperclip in NASCAR where we go there
yeah.
behind the tiny oval and just
Yeah,
see what
that's
can
right. Zoom, zoom,
happen.
zoom, zoom. Yeah. Well, speaking of changes to IndyCar procedures at the Indianapolis 500, we've got new qualifying procedures that they've announced going into this week. I've tried to figure it out, and you've tried to read up on it as well. Neither one of us can really put a bead on exactly how this thing's going to play out.
Not found the
And
simple version for explaining it yet. No,
right,
that's our
something
homework
about
between now and next week.
yeah, something about day one, we're qualifying spots 16 through 33, and the top 15 go into a shootout, or the top, or like 10 through 15 go into a shootout, and to
I'm
see who
hoping
gets
by
into the
this time
top
next week,
12, I'm not sure.
when we look through qualifying, I'll be able to explain to you in no more than 12 PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah,
And that'll be it.
that'll be it. You check local listings, you can figure it out on
Mm-hmm.
your own.
So you meant for my presentation, never mind for that.
Yeah, the final bit of news we had came out yesterday that the Java House Grand Prix of Arlington has been confirmed to return for next year.
Which I didn't think it wasn't, but I'm glad we
Yeah,
got the confirmation. I
yeah.
mean, it, again, gave us one of the better races of the year.
Mhm.
So brilliant overtake from Kirkwood into Cologne into that final corner, which I think will be on the highlight reel at the end of the season. So happy for it. We just
Yeah,
need to fix that pit lane and we're sorted.
yeah, that's right. Exactly. Pit lane exit, I think, was the real
Hmm.
issue there. Yeah. Well, let's get into the Grand Prix. The reason why we're here, one of
I
our
knew I was
best
talking to you
races.
for some reason.
Yeah. That start was frantic, to say the
Yeah,
least, and there was bumping going on before we even got to the starting line. There was mayhem going into turn one. There was mayhem in turn what, seven on the first lap. It just uh, there's too much to explain. I think
go
to
back,
put it,
watch it if you didn't see
yeah,
it already. We don't quite have the vocabulary to explain it succinctly, much like the qualifying procedure. We haven't found a short way of summing it up yet.
yeah. There was, I think most notably, we had Cal Collette and Scott Dixon that got kind of tied up
Hmm.
there at the exit of turn one. And it took the safety crews to come out and kind of pull them
Physically
apart.
disentangled them. Yeah,
Yes. And surprisingly enough, they were both able to continue.
that
Um,
that did surprise me most. I thought it was such a shame that because Colette had a decent qualifying, I think, and had shown pace at least at times during qualifying, and then Dixon obviously you never like to see him out.
right.
So I was like, oh damn, they're gone immediately. A ward had been spun around, so like he's out of the back after being up in P2. Rosenquist as well. That's such a shame. But they all sort of continue, and you go, I mean, okay, for two of them it didn't work out so well, but for Dixon and Collette, who were the most innocent bystanders, you'd think out of that because they were just trying to get around the corner. Oh, we're back in it, and you love it when that happens because you
Yeah.
you normally like, oh, damn, that's them done. I'll see them in
Yeah.
at the 500.
Yeah. Luckily, they got those cars restarted and sent on their way um, just before the pace car came into the turn. And so they were both able to stay on the lead lap, which is great. That's the nice thing
Always
about
helps.
having such a big track like the big long road course where, you know, once those cars get slowed down, it takes a long time to get around that track. And so they were both able to
Mm.
stay on the lead lap, which was really good to see. Kept them in the field. Ultimately, Dixon had a great finish after
Let's go
restarting
Dixon.
almost dead last. So yeah, when we went to the restart, Kyle Kirkwood is officially the first driver to use the push to pass on a restart to pass a driver. Uh, so he got past Graham Rahal for third on that restart, which
Mm.
was exciting. I think on that restart was when we realized I realized that we're in for a good race. And
Yeah,
um,
everyone looked very hungry. It felt a bit like St. Peter's
yes,
in that respect. Like no one's under the impression that this is the first race of the season. They're treating it like it's the last race of the season, and they need to
right,
get this all out of their system,
yeah,
which is what you want every race.
yeah. Lap 21, Alexander Rossi, car slowed on the front stretch and came to a stop just at the start finish line. And hybrid issue, which we've seen before.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, I didn't even know local cautions were a thing in IndyCar.
If you
I
don't know it, I have got no chance.
Yeah, I did not, obviously watching F1 for, the better part of 3 decades, I'm quite familiar with local yellows.
Hmm.
But I don't know if I remember a time where I actually seen one in IndyCar. So I know the
I mean,
drivers were
usually
confused.
the incident is so um, serious, or not even serious, but it's taken so seriously that they just throw a full course yellow because
Right.
it makes most sense to do it. We've seen it done for a lot less. So
Yeah.
as you say, battling that they would only do it
Yeah.
locally, and that's such a
On
uh,
the fastest part of any
yeah,
road course that we go to. Yeah.
that's the phrase I was looking for.
Yeah, it doesn't make any, I mean, the cars are going by at 170 miles per hour, and it just, I don't know why it took IndyCar officials so long. I mean, I get why they thought they should wait because you had drivers, we were in the middle of a pit sequence and you want all the drivers to have, to be able to pit, but that's part of racing.
I
There
would say
are,
not to be the boring word here, but safety first.
it's
You
safety.
can get
Yes,
good racing
exactly.
later, but
Yeah.
safety first.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if drivers get caught out not pitting and a caution flag comes out, well, they just were on the
That
wrong
happens.
strategy and it
Yeah.
wasn't their day. It happens all the time.
Just watch
And
what Scott Dixon does because he'll try something different and it'll still bloody work. So we'll just copy him
right,
instead. It
exactly.
doesn't matter
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
do.
Yeah, it just I can understand Rossi's frustration with
Hmm.
with the officiating crew. And he brought the caution out himself by getting out of the car under green flag conditions
We shouldn't have
and
had to do that
hopping
in
over
the
the pit
first
wall.
place. Should have just been
Yeah,
automatically red.
shouldn't have to do that, but now they have to throw the caution because there's somebody on a green circuit,
Hmm.
and uh, he shouldn't have had to done that. And his frustration, I get his frustration with the hybrid system. I think that's just a mechanical component of the car that we're just
Again,
going
that's
to have to
part of
live
racing.
with. Well, that's just part of racing. Mechanical items are going to break, whether they're mandated by the series or not.
Kind of
And
prefer that we have that as part of the sport. We've seen in other motorsport series how impressive reliability is, but how dull it can make races as well. Because,
right,
you look at the early 2000s in Formula One, and you go, there's always a
yeah,
chance the engine's going to go pop or the
right,
brakes are going to not quite be there. And, well, bad, it gives a chance of jeopardy, and it's just racing. You see that so much of the time. It's sort of like in the off-road racing, you know, the amount of stuff that can go wrong there, and they will just accept that as part of the deal. And you go, well, it
right,
shouldn't be any different in circuit racing.
yeah. Um, Newgarden or Rossi was definitely hot when he got out of that car, and they did a really good job of cropping him down on screen, um, and missing the gesture that he gave to the flag stand. Uh,
Is it a one-fingered salute by any chance?
it was the willpower memorial salute. Uh,
The classic two-finger salute. I see. I see.
and um, the he was directing it at the flag man, but obviously it was pointed towards all of IndyCar officiating.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of like you're the closest person I've got who's representing the people who made this decision, so I'm channeling it
right,
through you.
yes, yeah, you're the only one that's in my view. I
This
can
poor guy's like, I gotta take the hit for everybody. I'm just
so
doing my job.
yeah, but went back to green and on lap 26, and Christian Lundgaard made a couple really gutsy moves on that restart. I think he was probably heavy on that push to pass to make up those spots. He got around Rahal for third, which it's not the first time we've said that.
No, I'm just thinking that as the amount of times he got overtaken for third and still managed to finish in third
Still
in the
third place.
race.
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
So, yeah. We weren't green for long. We had another caution, big dust up down in the turn 12 complex. And
Hmm.
it's another one where you're kind of like, there's too much going on to try to really decipher what happened.
The one thing I did love about this incident though was the driver's eye camera for Rosenquist.
Yes.
Because somehow they and IndyCar as a whole have managed to produce a much better product with that driver's eye than Formula One have managed to do.
Mm,
You can just see everything so much better, so much crisper, regardless of where you are,
yes.
what time of day it is. And, they it's not, I might have missed it, but I haven't seen it on IndyCar socials yet from that specific angle. I've seen like the that camera and obviously the wide shots and
Mm,
everything, but I would really like that specific one because it just gives you such a great view of it and just really realizing if I'm going to go flying here, hands off. I'm not
hands
getting
off.
involved now. I
Yeah.
need to be a passenger at this point. So, unfortunate, but gave us again a brilliant insight into what it's like to be in the cars.
Yeah. Yeah. Rosenquist, Rob, and Simpson all kind of tangled, and Rosenquist, we did get a good shot of the underside of his car
Hmm. Hmm. Or is
ramping
Sergio Perez
over. Yeah,
Monaco being lifted away by the crane for
yeah, exactly.
interesting.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I do remember that crane incident.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean the second half of the race we went caution free, and a lot of times that lends to kind of boring second, you're not getting the
Hmm.
restarts, you're not getting the the close action that you have going into turn one. That wasn't the case in this race at all. It felt like every lap, from my vantage point of the one, two, three, four complex, we were seeing action
I
every
think
lap.
it was
It was
because Hello wasn't out in front; he was still hunting, and it's rare we get to see that. And so you don't really mind who out front wins as long as someone does that isn't below, because you know that
yeah,
if he gets the chance, he will go for it. And he just climbed up that order multiple times so quickly and so efficiently that you were just worried constantly going, please no one mess up the pit stop. Please
mm,
someone just like fight each other, but fight too hard because he's coming. You
yeah,
can't afford to do this right now.
Well,
And we
and
got this nice blend of all of
yeah, speaking of ruining pit stops,
that.
Andretti had a twofer,
Tradition.
a tradition. Kirkwood pits and they had issues with his car, had a 15-second pit stop, which, if you're keeping score at home, is like making two pit stops. So, kind of took him out of contention for what should have been a really solid day for him. And then Power on his last stop, also having issues with the stop, and then compounding that by being penalized for improper exit off pit road.
Yeah, Andretti just when it comes, it pours essentially with the rain on the pit stop, right? You saw this in Arlington. It wasn't just one pit stop that went wrong. It was
Yeah.
it was multiple, and then we have a couple of clean races, and then well, I had a thought about the pattern that was forming there, but just knowing powers that commentators have, I will not make any comments about this, and I will wait and see what happens before establishing if there is a pattern forming here.
Well, I think in regards to Andretti and their pit crews, I we have a pattern. And the pattern is they have the single most unreliable pit crews of any team. And this is up and down the pylon. I don't get why this team, as a whole, has so many problems on pit
You know
road.
what they're missing, right?
Me.
Exactly. Exactly. Why have they not hired you to fix this problem?
I just it I I can't even put into words how disappointing. I mean, I would be furious if I was a driver for this team, and knowing that during a race weekend, I'm going to have to make 2 to 3 stops and rely on this crew to not
You'd
mess
almost
up,
just want
and
to
they
be able to
mess up
drive
a
so much
lot.
quicker and just try and build the slow pit stops into the gap you're pulling on the
I
drivers you're
think what
fighting at this point.
if I was an Andretti driver, probably what I would do is I'd say, okay, put me on the red tires to start the race. And then on lap 2, I'm coming in and you're going to put on the hard tires, and I'm just going to run the entire race on the hard tires. Don't
The
touch the
House of
tires
One
for the rest
strategy
of
for the
this.
last 2 years for us to been essentially is like we're not going to do anything different. We're just going to do this.
Yeah.
See what
Just
happens.
so I don't have to come in here and you guys don't have to monkey with the tires over and over again. We're just going to put the tires on once and be done.
Worth a try,
So,
at this point. Let's
yeah,
see what happens. Maybe not at the 500. I don't think that's quite going to work as well as we want it to, but
yeah. I mean,
Detroit's after that. I think we'll try it.
Power's strategy should have worked. He pitted at the right
And
time.
it did at
Every
points.
it did it was working until the last pit stop. He came in 25 laps to go. He would have had enough gas and tires to make it to the end of the race. Everybody else still had to pit and would have come out behind him. He had the perfect strategy, and his team
A little bit
literally,
like New Garden in Long Beach. This can work, and then one thing happens, and it just all
yeah,
comes undone, and you go,
yeah. It's just,
we were robbed of something excellent.
yeah. It's like beating a dead horse when it comes to Andretti's pit
Mhm.
crews, though. So let's move on. After the final pit stop sequence, Lundgaard was just charging through the field. And it felt
Yeah.
like, I mean, everybody was on sticker red tires on that last stint. And so it should have felt like it should have been a lot more equal. But the way he was carving through the field,
He
it
had a points
just
proof
defied reason why, like he had magic tires or something.
and
And
gave us one of the best overtakes, I think. Definitely we've seen all of this season,
oh,
and will
yeah,
definitely still be
absolutely.
one of the best at the end of the season when we're done.
Yeah.
And just no idea how it's one of those ones you can watch it 10, 20 times, you still have no idea how he managed to
Yeah.
quite do it.
It was definitely watching it in front of me was definitely a hold your breath experience. And like,
Hmm.
oh, how is he going to do this? How's this isn't going to work?
It was such good
But he
driving by
did.
Malukas as well to
Yeah.
not
It really
allow that to
was.
be
Yeah.
compromised, and just they know each other so well in that respect, which sometimes you don't often see them fighting each other too much either. So you've got this confidence in this other driver to not screw this up,
Yeah.
and it somehow worked.
Yeah. Once Lundgaard got past Malukas, it was that was the end. I mean, he just was
Hmm.
pulling away. There was nothing that Malukas could do. And Lundgaard ended up winning by over 4.5 seconds over Malukas. And then
Yeah.
yeah, Rahal, Joseph Newgarden, and Alex Palou round out the top five.
Which, if you'd said to us at the start of the season, there's going to be two races where Graham Rahal finished on the podium ahead of Alex Palou in one of those,
That's right.
madness, madness. But I'm absolutely here for it, so I'm very happy. And again,
Yeah.
because you're so focused on Malukas and Lundgaard and sort of low behind, you sort of missed Rahal and Newgarden. So you look at the result and go, hang on, what? How did they get cool? I don't know how this happened, but I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, time to jump into our team by team analysis, starting with Team Penske. Interesting weekend for all three of these drivers, two of which I think are probably pretty happy.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Malukas keeps making him happy. I think he's really coming to the fore with this team. He's being incredibly consistent. He qualifies fifth, finishes second. Um, so close to that race win that I could
Oh,
almost hear
yeah.
you weeping from all the way over here when it didn't happen. If there'd been a moment where the camera panned to the crowd, it would be you just letting out a guttural bear roar and ripping your shirt off, going, "No, why is this close to victory?" But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And then Newgarden, yeah, kind of qualified not badly, but not brilliantly for his own standards, but then sneaks into fourth somehow. Like I was saying
Yeah.
just now, you kind of look at the end result and go, "Wait, how did Newgarden get to fourth? What happened there?" Got him back though, as you say. Yeah, it's his season is not. We were saying about it in terms about how we just wanted to have this consistent season. He's not getting what he wanted, and it's really gut-wrenching to see because you know how good of a driver he is, but it's just not happening for him enough at the moment, and he just keeps slipping down the overall order, and it's not what he deserves. And I'm not even sure what's going wrong either. It's just not there.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, you brought in Malukas and, after last season being an absolutely abysmal season for Penske, you bring in a
Hmm.
new driver, and now that new driver is the leading driver in the points. Newgarden's doing, remarkably better than he did last year, but McLaughlin, I don't think got the memo that hey, we're writing off last season. We're just going to forget about that ever happened, and we're going to start
I'm
fresh this
quite
year. He didn't get
amused as
that.
well the fact that all of last season we knew it was an open secret that Will Power was going. He was the strongest driver of that team. He then leaves. The guy that replaces him is now the strongest driver of that team.
Yeah,
And the two staples of it are just kind of when they're good, but when they're bad, they're bad. And you go,
yeah,
what's going on there?
yeah. Well, to put Scott McLaughlin's season in perspective, he is tied in the points with Graham Rahal.
Which I don't like how that sounds as an insult
I,
because it's just like shows how good Graham's doing. But yeah,
yeah,
it's this weird
but
to and fro.
on the flip side, you say, "Wow, Graham Rahal is tied for eighth in the points. This is a great season for him."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then you're like, "Oh,
Gonna make a
Scott
$1
McLaughlin's
bet on him taking the
yeah,
championship.
right." So, yeah, it just Newgarden really, he had a fast car. I think they made improvements over qualifying, but that first lap incident where he was able to snake through there, if you saw his onboard camera during the replays under caution.
Mm.
It was uh,
I see.
he was very lucky. He got to look at several nose cones as he was zipping by on the
You
on the
wonder if
inside.
that's one
So
of those moments where you talk to Hugo afterwards and you go, that, yeah, time slows down in that moment because you're just like, oh, oh,
yeah.
oh.
I think McLaughlin maybe just has a curse at Indy after
Love
the
that
last
to
year.
not carry over the 500 for his
Yeah.
sake. I don't
I
want this
think I
emotional
hope
damage
for
to him 2 years in a row.
I really hope for his sake that he has a better 500 experience this year than he did last year. I don't think that's a hard hurdle to
It
clear,
can't
but
get much worse, surely.
exactly. Exactly.
I don't like that I've
Uh,
said that.
Aaron McLaren, obviously, I think this is another one where two of the drivers
Two out
had
of
great
three.
weekends, and the third one not so great. Pato Ward started P2,
Mm,
qualified just off the pole, but finishes 18th. And then, of course, we have, Christian Lundgaard, winning the race, but then Nolan Siegel pulling out another top 10. You know,
doesn't happen often, but when it happens, we mention it.
that's right. We got to. And is this where does this put him? This was his first top 10 of the season.
Mm,
So great for him. And I got to hear an interview with him earlier. And he seemed a little surprised that he got a top 10,
that's not
which
good.
not good. This he's not a rookie anymore. He maybe the PR group over at Arrow McLaren needs to get him some presentation
Immediately,
work.
yeah.
Teach him how to do a proper interview.
Alternatively, I'm not saying he won't finish in the top 10 by the end of the season, but I'm saying it's a challenge that will take quite some work to aspire to. Why not see if he could fill in Jack Harvey's role and put Jack Harvey in that Arrow McLaren next year season? I'd be up for that. Just going to put that out there now and try and manifest. But I've got a question for you because it's you that you blindsided me with trivia questions, so I'm going to try and get you back. Lundgaard won the race, his first for Arrow McLaren. How many other drivers have won a race for Arrow McLaren?
In general,
Yeah, history.
throughout all series or just IndyCar?
Good question. I should have checked that when I was doing my homework. But going off what I saw the other day, I would say probably just IndyCar.
Well, at Indianapolis, there's this was only the second win for McLaren at Indianapolis.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know who the first driver was, but it was a long, long time ago. Um, maybe five.
Lundgaard was the fourth driver, only
Okay.
somehow the fourth driver. You've got Simon Pagenaud, you've got Pato Award, obviously, and James
Mhm.
Hinchcliffe. Somehow,
Okay.
for now, only three drivers in the entire kind of like last 20 plus years have won. I just thought for a team that size, that's astounding that you've only had three different drivers until this weekend win a race.
Yeah.
And, you know, Pato's doing most of the heavy lifting for that.
Well, and one thing interesting about Christian Lundgaard was, and maybe I haven't followed him as closely as I should. He's at
Hmm.
the top team. He's been, racing to get into the top five in the points last season and this season. Uh, I did not remember that he only had one career win going into the weekend.
Yeah, because the whole moustache business at the time.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, this is his second career win. I'm like, no, it's not. He's got more wins than that. I'm like, nope, no, he certainly
Maybe
does not.
combined with other series, but not IndyCar.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, man, I really thought that he had more wins. And so, yeah, this is his first win since what, Toronto in 23.
Yeah, 23. Yeah,
So,
exactly. So it's been,
so
I'm hoping we're not going to have to wait till
almost
29.
3 years. Yeah. So, but definitely congrats to him and Nolan Siegel, who, you know, from what I saw in front of me live at the track, that 10th place finish
It
was
was your
on
presence,
merit.
wasn't it? Your
It might have
presence.
been. It might have been. He raced that top 10 on merit. That wasn't like,
Hmm.
we got down to the end and there was a bunch of cars that crashed out in front of him, or a bunch of guys had, to dip in for gas or something.
No,
It
no.
was he got there on his own, which is great to see. That's the kind of effort that we um, have been saying we need to see from him to be able
Let's
to
just hope he can do it more often now. He's done it once now.
exactly.
Let's
Yeah,
let's
he's
let's try and get it
broken
a bit more.
through. He broke through. Now he can start racking up those top tens in the second half of the season. Andretti Global, like I mentioned, we've already beat this dead horse, I feel
Yeah,
like.
not too much to talk about here, is there?
Power qualified last. And
You look at the
like,
result and it goes, okay, starts
yeah,
last, finishes 13th, not bad. But then you watch
yeah,
it and go, oh, we could have had so much more.
yeah. You look, oh, he led 15 laps in this race and finished 13th. You
Yeah,
have Kyle Kirkwood started ninth, finished ninth. Another
which
driver who's,
frustrates me because considering what happened to Below, this was the race where you jump on it. You need to be ahead of him.
yes,
You've got four
yeah,
places. Instead, he just loses another 10 points to his main rival, and you go,
yeah.
damn it. Thing.
You needed this one, man. And then Marcus Ericsson finishing 22nd after starting 14th. Um,
Power issues.
yeah,
Not entirely sure what went wrong there, but just not nothing he did essentially. It was
yeah.
just the car, and if that's racing, as we said earlier with Rossi. Sometimes it just happens. It's just unfortunate because again, Ericsson, we're on this interesting journey with him this year. We're like, maybe the bad luck's gone away. Never mind. Let's move
Nope.
on.
Yeah, I think he is probably. Um, I would have to
His seat's in
guess
danger.
his seat is definitely in danger. Um, I think out of these three drivers, he's the one that's had the least amount of pit road incidents involving his
Hmm.
his pit crew.
Because he's got enough other incidents going on the rest of the time. Doesn't need
Exactly.
need the
Yeah,
rest of it.
he takes care of himself on track, where the other drivers on the team are getting taken care of on pit road. And yeah, very strong possibility he may be hunting for another seat somewhere. Now, I don't. I, he's obviously a good driver. He's sitting 12th in the points right now. Um, he's got three top tens on the season. But I think that's
We know
probably
what he's
enough to where
capable of from what we've seen from previous years.
we,
That's what
we,
makes it
we know what
frustrating
he's
for a top
capable of,
team.
but yeah, we know what he's capable of, but he's stuck in Andretti. And,
Hmm.
you know, it just,
He's
it,
stuck in
it,
an
it,
Andretti Global without Nate Woods.
yeah, well, yeah, maybe that's it. Chip Ganassi Racing, um, interesting team. And I think definitely deserves to talk about at length, but you had Alex Palou on the pole, weird pit sequencing during that Rossi caution.
Hmm.
Uh, felt like was going to ruin his day. He
Yeah,
was
I'm not
all the way in
entirely
the
sure why
back of
they
the field.
waited that long to put him there. It's I don't know what the advantage they gained or were trying to gain there was, considering he was already out front anyway. And like you say, ultimately it did cost him. So I'm
Yeah,
I don't mind that personally because it keeps things interesting for us and we've got a great race out of
right.
it. But it's just from the strategy point of view, you're wanting to have a debrief about what the thinking behind that was later.
Yeah,
Um, Maybe they used all their big brain energy with Scott Dixon because, like you say, spins and is literally embedded into the side of Kyle Collette race
yeah,
on lap one, turn one,
yeah.
after
All
starting
three of
eighth,
the
and
yeah,
just finishes in sixth.
yeah. And then you have Kiffin Simpson, who was involved in the last
Hmm.
caution, around
Rosenquist and
halfway.
Armstrong
Yeah,
and
with
Rahal,
Rosenquist
yeah,
and Armstrong. And he finishes 12th.
up half the positions that he needed to from where he started. It's
Right.
not bad going.
Yeah, I mean, all three drivers drove through the field. And uh, I mean, Pelot, after being off sequence, drove back up to fifth, and Dixon driving back up through the field after essentially restarting
Mm.
dead last or near dead last, and finishing sixth. I mean, both and then Simpson come back up to 12th. I mean, this might be the hot team. I didn't put him down as a hot team, but now that I'm rethinking about it, this might be.
We'd understand if you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
I
I
wrote a
might change
piece
my
for
answer.
I wrote a piece about influence just ahead of the 500, which was out this week, on like the state of play at IndyCar this season so far. Now that we've had this first batch of races out of the way, and I got a whole section on you got to keep an eye on Scott Dixon because he's both in the championship fight and he's not. And it's just such a weird oxymoron going on with him constantly, where if he'll qualify terribly but then finish brilliantly, and then qualify well, get knocked down the order, and then still finish well, and he's
Yeah,
somehow, I think, sixth overall in the standings. sixth, seventh, around that sort of area, and it's kind of like you can't rule them out,
Yeah.
which I love because you look at this season, and you've watched the race, you go, how the hell is he in contention still? Even at this
Yeah.
early stage, you think you don't want to, take people out of it, but you're like, if he wins this, it's one of the best seasons to somehow claw a championship victory from because we've no idea how you managed it, but we can't rule you out.
Right. Yeah. And I think obviously we know what this team is capable of in the 500. And I think with the outing they had this past weekend, this is going to be the team to watch this weekend for qualifying and on race weekend for the 500. I
Mm.
think all three of these drivers, Kiff and Simpson included, for sure, I think are taking the most momentum into the biggest race of the year. Um, and so, obviously it's the 500 is a very, very different feel for the drivers than the Sonsio Grand Prix. If you tangle on lap one, that is the end of your day.
Yes.
If you tangle before the race, like Scott
No,
McLaughlin,
hang
that's also the end
you
of the
you
day.
tangle at
So,
any point. You're not coming back really. That's
right, yeah, yeah, it's tough to come back from. Um, but they are. I think this is the team to watch. And I think once we get through qualifying,
they have the
however
biggest
that's supposed to
expectation
be,
on us,
yeah,
I think.
yeah, you're coming back. Plo's coming back as the reigning winner, and
Mm.
Dixon. Obviously, we know that he's more than capable of winning this race, um, as he's done in the
And I think the
past.
fact
And
that Simpson said this in the piece as well, the fact that he's got those two as teammates takes the pressure off him a little bit, which I think is good because it allows him to then just quietly try and progress in the ways that we have seen him
yeah,
do. So if he then does well in the 500, you're not too surprised because he's in this environment where you'd think there'd be a lot of pressure, but that actually works in his favor and just lets him get on with things. And hopefully, then we see that over the course of the whole 500 from qualifying
yeah,
onwards.
yeah. Meyer Shank Racing. I think this was maybe a weekend that they'd like to forget.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with Armstrong's qualifying. He has good qualifying, bad qualifying, and just didn't work on this weekend. But a decent recovery at least, just outside the top. And it's you do want to go back and see some of these on boards to see where these positions were made up because obviously you can't see everything during the race. And then Rosenquist we talked about, you know, such a brutal down to earth after Long Beach. He qualifies
Yeah,
third. You think, okay, cool, we're doing this
yeah,
again.
yeah,
And then no, we're not
yeah.
doing
Well,
it.
he had Morgan Wallen on the car. I know you probably are not familiar with Morgan Wallen. He is a very big country singer here in America and was actually performing in Indianapolis this weekend. And,
Why is this relevant?
well, he was the sponsor on Rosenquist's car.
Ah, okay. I thought Nick usually ties these in together. I don't know what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah. And so to have all of this uh, weird stuff going on with him during the race, it's like he was
You
here.
grab a beer after the race and have a nice country song to
Right.
lick his wounds to afterwards.
That's right, exactly. Crying to your beer. Uh, my only note for this team is that let's hope that Helio Castroneves can
Mm,
tow this team uh, through the 500.
I'm up for it. I'm always up for that. I love a wildcard driver.
Ed Carpenter Racing. Obviously, we talked about Rossi at length, qualifying 13, finishing last after having the hybrid issue and issues with the officiating crew. But uh, Christian Rasmussen, who we really wasn't mentioned hardly at all during the broadcast until he was out of the race, finishing
Yeah,
24th.
yeah.
Um,
He needs to have some good results soon. It's not great when one of your team has a bad weekend, but then both of you, and for not similar reasons, but it wasn't an accident that took either of them out. You know, and it's such a shame because I was looking at Rossi, I think, during qualifying, and I was that livery is so gorgeous. I just wanted to look at it for so long, and then they just get taken out immediately. You know, in
yeah,
the race, I'm like, yeah. I don't get to look
Yeah.
at this beautiful machine anymore. It's just gone. Damn it.
Uh, you had a note on here that Gary needs to pull his socks up.
Yeah.
I was confused on who Gary was.
Gary's their hire from Java House. He's bringing all the coffee for them. He's the guy in
Oh,
the advert.
okay.
He's
Okay.
clearly he's clearly responsible for everything going well and badly in that team. It all rests with him now, so he needs to work
Gary,
harder.
yes. Okay, Gary on the commercial. Okay, I got it now. Got it. I used the exact same note from Meyer Shank and just copy and pasted it into Ed Carpenter Racing. That let's hope that Ed
Though
Carpenter
Helio
can tow this
Castroneves works
team.
his
Yeah,
magic there as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Let's hope that Ed Carpenter can tow this team in the second half of the month. So obviously, with Ed Carpenter coming on, he just this is his one race of the year that he's going to be in.
Hmm.
Um, Always does well, and
Yeah,
uh, it's been on the pole a
it's
couple times for the
got to get out
500.
on the track and show
And
the regular guys how it's done.
I get, yeah, the old timers coming out and showing the young bucks how to go out and get that speed. So A.J Foyt Enterprises, um, yeah,
Another team. Yeah, where
yeah,
it's like, oh,
yeah, Santino Ferrucci qualifying 15th, finishing 14th. I don't think that quite represents where he should have finished. But
have we not
and then
been
Cal
saying this
Collette,
all season?
yeah, Cal
We
Collette
need to have a deep
qualified,
dive
yeah,
into him at some point. If this continues much longer, I'm gonna have to have a look at him and go, what
yeah,
on earth is happening to you this year?
yeah. Cal Collette made the fast 12 in qualifying
Mm.
and ended up after the first lap incident. Um, didn't quite recover as well as Scott Dixon did,
No, I
but
was going to say.
finished 19th. So
Again, I like the potential is there with the speed, with qualifying. It's like we talked about with Simpson, it's that kind of quiet progress that we like to see. And, we're not expecting podiums or wins, but we just want to see some kind of example that you're moving in the right direction. And that
yeah,
qualifying, yeah, that's what we
yeah,
want.
yep. Ferrucci was the only driver that on the last stint had to use used soft tires. Everybody else
Mm.
still had a sticker set left. And I think that was somewhat detrimental, but I think obviously most detrimental is having Mick Schumacher run into the back of your car.
So it's such a bizarre incident because obviously, I think it was the corner or two before, Nick had tried getting past it and it
Locked
didn't
up
quite
and
work.
yeah.
And thought, yeah, and like, okay, you've got two drivers where they both know how to race aggressively and maybe, definitely in Fuji's case, further over the line than we might be approving of on occasion. Looking at you, Portland last year. But then when Schumacher did go into the back of him, it felt like he was carrying so much more speed into that corner, but also that Ferrucci was also slower and just I don't know, it just didn't feel like Mick, like all of these drivers, I would say as well, you don't get to IndyCar and not know how to drive to some extent. Um, it didn't seem like something that would just like, oh, sod this, I'm just going to drive into the back of you to get out of
Right.
the way.
Yeah.
Um, they haven't had the time together yet to develop that kind of a relationship. Um, so it just felt a bit bizarre. It felt like a bit of one and a bit of the other, but it's such a bizarre incident because it just again, kind of like watching Lundgaard's overtake on Lucas. Like I've watched it so many times, and you go, I don't understand how this happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It just that was a weird shunt in a weird spot after locking up, going, I
Mm.
mean, immediately before that incident. Um, yeah, that'd be an interesting one to kind of go back and replay and try to dissect.
Try and
But
hear the interviews as well from them after and see what they say
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing, speaking of Mick
Mm.
Schumacher, qualified 18th, finished 20th. I think it's about as
Which up to that
an
point he
outing.
was in what 12th, I think. They even said
Yeah.
in commentary this is going to be his best result of the season. I
Yep.
should have known at that point that it was too good to last. And
Yeah.
you're saying about Scotty Mack having a curse. I think Nick, what monkey paw does he have?
Graham Rahal, of course, had a great outing, finished on the
Mm.
podium. And then Louis Foster, I think, had an excellent outing. I think once he qualified sixth, made it into the fast six, qualified sixth. I kind of thought, well, maybe that's just kind of maybe a fluke. I don't want to say fluke, but
Well, yeah, it sort of reminded you of his pole position,
Somewhat.
right, in what was it,
Yeah.
Road America last year, and you go,
Yeah.
wow, where did that come from? But then
Yeah.
you know that that's probably not going to last in the race. But then it weirdly did.
Yeah. He backed it up with a seventh place finish. So, um, I am not saying that Graham got his podium because I hyped him up so much in the last episode,
You're not
but
not saying that.
I'm not saying it. You know, I said it, you know, this is his best track, and he proved it once again. And,
Hmm.
you know,
We,
watching
we
qualifying,
talked about is this going to be a possibility last time, like you say, but I
yeah,
don't know if we dared actually believe what we were saying because we just it's
yeah,
like we've already had the podium. We don't want to ask too much of him, but I'm like, I'm really on board for
yeah,
this renaissance as long as it lasts. I'm not expecting anything. I'm not putting the pressure on, but I would love it. I mean,
yeah,
we know what expectations he has with the Indy
mhm,
500, with the family history. I will say nothing more, but you know what I'm thinking.
yeah. I think for Mick Schumacher, I think he's going to have to perform well at the 500. If he doesn't, he is maybe going to be on the outside looking in next season. And
I don't know if
yeah,
we're there yet, but I think as well, obviously got to perform. I definitely agree there.
mhm,
But I think as well, sometimes I know I'm kind of preempting possible bad things happening here, but what if you have like a Marco Andretti situation from last year at the 500 where you're just minding your own business and then you just get punted out immediately? That sort of thing, you cannot do anything about that. So I think as it good result for him, it's just finishing at this point
mhm,
and just
yeah,
kind of staying out of trouble. It's making sure the pit crew don't have the same issue that they did in Phoenix. It's making sure that he doesn't get nerfed around like he did in Arlington or caught in the wrong place at the right time, like he didn't say Pete. All
to,
this bad juju just keeps happening. You're like, just
to
please have a clean weekend.
to put it in perspective for Mick Schumacher and where he's at in the season, he is in last place
Hmm.
in the point standings, 25th place. There are 8 drivers that are just racing the Indy 500. If
I don't like where you're going with this.
one of those drivers wins the race and Mick Schumacher finishes outside of the top 30 in the 500, one of
It's not
these
ideal.
one-off drivers can leapfrog him in the points.
And potentially vie for a seat next year as well, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
yeah,
know, and
it's not ideal.
it's not like the 8 drivers that are coming in to just race the 500 are scrub drivers. I mean, you've got
No. They're all
3 former Indy 500 winners. You've got 2 drivers that have come, or 3 drivers that have come painfully close to winning a 500. And and
big
then
available.
Abel and Catherine Legg. But yeah, if stars align for the 500, it's possible that Mick Schumacher will be behind in points behind somebody who has 6 less races in the season.
Know what I figured out though, the source of his bad luck. He used to drive for Prema back in the old.
There we go. That
So
could be
maybe
it.
the 500, we saw what happened with them last year, at least in qualifying.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we can go in that direction instead.
yeah. Um, yeah, just I'd hate to see it for him, but
Hmm.
boy, I feel like that might be a direction we're heading in.
Can't wait for him to preview run, mate. Can't wait for him to
Yeah,
preview
okay. Maybe he'll pull a Schwartzman and he'll be on the pole.
run. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, like Prima on the pole. Dale Coyne Racing. Dennis Hauger, pitiful
Hmm.
qualifying, but boy, did he really show his colors during the
Very much
race finish.
epitomizing the whole phrase of it doesn't matter where you start, you finish.
It's where you finish. Grosjean made it into the Fast 12 and went in the opposite direction,
He did the
finishing
opposite, yeah.
21st. Yeah, finishing 21st. Um, I really like that Hauger is really starting to shine.
Hmm.
Um, we really hyped him up in the preseason. You know, this is the new hotness coming into the series. We saw what he did in Indy Next last year, and we're like, yeah, oh, yeah, this guy's going to come in and uh, really just show
But
these
there's,
guys what
you
for,
know,
right? Unfortunately, the problem for Halger is um, you do this well this season, and you're going to replace Ericsson at Andretti Global.
you know what
Are
I've
you
always
really
said though?
moving up at
It's
that
that
point?
Hauger and Woods combination that they're missing at Andretti Global.
Maybe that's it. I just, it feels like you're going to get a consolation prize for doing so well this season. So
Maybe,
I don't know.
well. I'm just happy to see him doing well. I like the recovery drive. Maybe he does for Andretti what Malukas is hopefully doing for Team Penske. You know,
It could
maybe
be.
we can have
Yeah,
something like
yeah, that would be great. They certainly need it up there.
that.
And then finally, Juncos Hollinger. Rinus VK really had a nondescript day. I don't know if he was even mentioned once during the
But
broadcast.
yeah, that was involved with the stuff at the start, but then after that,
Uh,
you didn't really
yeah,
see much of
yeah,
anything, and bit of a milk toast weekend for the whole team.
yeah. Qualified 21st, finished 15th. Stingray Rob got some airtime, um, finishing 17th. But um, you know, I think both of them, how VK on track at the track, watching him had a decent recovery. I think
Hmm.
wasn't able to capitalize in other ways like Scott Dixon did, but looked good on track. Stingray Rob looked decent until his incident in the that last caution, but um, I don't think either one of them were going to be contenders for a top
No,
10.
no. We need a much crazier race for that to happen, I think.
Yeah. So with such an exciting race, the picking of the hot, not, and hard lucks are difficult
Trickier
to
than
say the
normal.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two categories at least out of the three.
Yeah. Who did you have as your hot for the weekend?
I honestly thought you'd go for Christian Lundgaard, so I wanted to go a bit different. So I went for Dennis Hauger because, for that performance in a Dayle Coyne, tremendous, and we love to see it, as we just mentioned. But you didn't go for Christian Lundgaard. You
I
went for
didn't. Scott Dixon doing Scott Dixon things, and and
Unfortunate.
you know, being wedged into another car during lap one, turn one, and then being able to turn that into a sixth place finish. It
He's
just
not a knight of the
I
realm for
can't
nothing,
wrap my mind around that. You just can't do that. Now I will say I had really hard time picking who my hot driver was going to be. I put honorable mentions in here for Alex Palou and
mate.
Will Power. I'm going to take Will Power out and substitute in all of Chip Ganassi. I
Hmm.
just we'll just blanket
Fair enough.
it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. For my not hot and for our hot,
Our
let's just yeah. The stewards, the IndyCar
yeah.
officiating team. Um,
I don't know if you picked up
Unfortunately,
as well. I don't know if you watched any of it back afterwards after being out there yourself, but the commentary team, oh, they were being sassy. It was so great.
yes,
Before
yeah,
that even happened, there was a couple of bits of damage that had come off cars that were on the track, and normally you see
yep.
cautions thrown for that to get rid of them. Nothing had happened. So when Rossi then stopped, they were, oh, we're going to have a caution. And I can't remember which one of the three said it, but like, well, I don't know if that's a thing we're doing today. We might not have any kind of caution thrown through this. I was like, it was so salty. I mean, I understand, but it's just such gold on the
Yeah,
commentary team.
Townsend Bell. Townsend Bell was gold with his commentating, and I just yeah, the stewards and the officiating team just they I hope they don't ruin somebody's race at the 500,
Hmm.
and because this is not the first time that we've given the not hot award to the stewards, and we shouldn't be doing that. We should be doing
No,
it
no.
for a driver or an Andretti pit crew, um, not the officiating team of the series and the
Hmm.
on-track product. And just
I have enough
we
of that
should,
in Formula One. I don't need this in IndyCar. I come here to get away from that.
right, right. My hard luck is kind of the same token as the Stewarts. My hard luck's Alexander Rossi,
Yeah,
and
no, that's
you
fair.
know we talked about the hybrid failure that he had, and it's like, well, you're going to have that, but
Hmm.
when it happened,
Timing
where it
and
happened,
placing wasn't great.
yeah, placing was not great. Who are you giving your hard luck to?
Paddle Wolves, I gave him a bit of shtick after Long Beach, thinking you got dispatched of far too easily by Palou, and then you didn't really do too much, and you're being consistent but not consistent enough, and then he goes and qualifies in second, like, okay, we can go and do something with, and then just
Yeah,
get him left out of the way immediately, and you go, never mind, poor man,
yeah,
try again at 500. It always goes so well for him there. He's won so many of those.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, coming out of the race, Alex Palou, obviously still our points leader. Kyle Kirkwood in second, 27 points back. David Malukas in third, 52 points back. And Lundgaard moves up to fourth, uh, 55 points back.
so it's still close, not as close
It's
as I might like, but the Indy 500
it's
change a lot
still
of things.
very
One
at
good
this point of
result for
this. Yeah,
any of those
yeah.
drivers.
It's still
Oh,
very attainable. I mean, if Kirkwood pulls out a great
mm.
race at the 500 and Plo, even if
I'm not
Plo
saying I'm not saying I don't
doesn't,
want him to have a bad weekend, but if he didn't finish or just
eh,
finished outside the top 10, it would be so good for the championship in terms of just
yeah,
closing everything back up.
everything
So,
back up, yeah. And those other two drivers, Malukas and Lundgaard, I think realistically also have solid chances of
you've got nothing
making
to lose.
gains. Um, you know, Newgarden in fifth place, 75 points back. You're kind of getting into that danger zone of like, okay, you're more than a race back at this point. After six
But
races, it's
again,
like,
if you win the 500 and Palou has a bad one, you're in.
yep,
You're back in
exactly.
straight
Yep.
away. So,
So still way too early in the season to call it,
mm,
but we got to have some stars start to align to make some gains. So we were treated with several other really awesome races at the Speedway this weekend. Um, Indy Next had a doubleheader, and we had two first-time winners in the series. Um, the Indy Next race on Friday
mm.
was ran in the wet, and boy, was that an exciting one.
It was nice
And
to see a bit of that in the wet for a change. You don't
yeah,
see that too often in this sort of racing over in the States. So I'm glad we got a bit of
yeah,
that. Because obviously qualifying then was pushed to Saturday for
yeah,
IndyCar, so it's a shame. But yeah, Indy next in the wet. More of that.
yeah,
I think I can understand the caution with it in some places, but at the same time, I always think this with Formula Two and Formula Three. It's just let them do it. They need to learn.
yeah. Yeah, Enzo Fittipaldi won the first race, and then Timothy
Who as well
Kaczarzik.
is from F2 and F3 world. He's had races in the
Yeah,
wet.
yep,
So proof of why you
definitely
do
him.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, Timothy Kaczarzik picked up his first career win on Saturday.
Which
Um,
that was only a matter of time ago. He's been so consistent this
Man, he's
season.
been doing so well.
It was going
Yeah,
to happen sooner or later.
yeah, he's been exciting to watch for sure, and I'm glad I got to experience his first win there. I
Hmm.
don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility that we see him as a driver championship win an Indy Next or not, being a driver that moves on to IndyCar.
Yeah, if he can keep this up, yeah, why
And
not? And
yeah,
again, we've still got a championship where it's no one's doing a Helga or a Foster and running away with it.
right.
It's
This
fairly
is
tight.
close.
You
Yes,
get
very
to
tight.
only Lucky Hughes is still the where it starts. Curiously, of all the drivers, Lucky Hughes, you think we talked pre-season, like Lucky Hughes and Miles Rowe, that's going to be the
Yeah,
battle this year. They're absolutely nowhere.
nope. Yeah. Yeah, you got Nikita Johnson still leading in Indy Next. Teamick is only 11 points back at this point. Max
Mm,
Taylor, who, you know, at the beginning, after the first doubleheader, we thought, oh, this is the guy to beat. Now he's in third, 16
yeah,
points or 14 points back.
and now
And
Enzo's
then
in third. Yeah.
Enzo's joined the fray, just 16 points back. And so, yeah, I mean, this is close. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this season.
Yeah,
We're,
no, it's nice. I just
yeah,
like the fact that as impressive as domination is, and I'm seeing it in too many categories that I watch. So I'm just sort of like that. There's a bit of something where it could literally be anyone's game, and I don't have
yeah.
any particular skin in the game either.
Right.
So I just want to have the good racing, and we get the good racing. So I'm happy.
Yeah. I think, all five of these guys in the top five, I think,
Hmm.
are going to
And
be
for
IndyCar
someone like
ready.
Lockie,
Yeah.
it would be great to have that comeback to make up that deficit and go,
Mhm.
okay, this hasn't worked, but I'm back. And if you can
Yeah.
claw away back, even to just finish second, if it's close, you'd still
Yeah.
be going, okay, there's a driver we should still maybe keep an eye on.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, that's going to be a fun one. We've got one, what, two, three, four, five. Yeah. We still got 10 races left in this season. So
It's not done yet.
it's definitely not done yet. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Um, we also had USF 2000 and USF Pro races out there at the track.
Hmm.
The USF 2000 series would be like your junior Formula series there
Yeah,
in
I've seen
Europe.
a little
And
bit of
so,
it here and there.
and uh, taking my 14-year-old son to the track and then explaining to him that there are 14, 15, and 16
Well,
year
you're
olds
not doing that.
racing in this series. Um, it was hard for him to wrap his mind around because he is only a casual racing fan.
Hmm.
Um, but most notably in the USF 2000 series, 15-year-old Oliver Weldon, son of two-time Indy 500 winner Dan Weldon, um, took two podiums this weekend and in his series debut. And that moved him into the top 10 in points already just after two outings. So didn't
See,
didn't fare so well in the first race, but because they did that series did have three races
hmm.
this weekend. But um,
Well, first one's
uh,
three. It's fine. We got
that's
there in
right.
the other
Yeah,
two.
yeah, got that out of the way. Now you can move on, take two podiums in a row. So awesome for him. Great to see him. I think there's a special place in old timer IndyCar fans' hearts for wanting him to succeed because of his
Hmm.
father.
Oh,
And
definitely.
there's really famous photo that we see all the time here in Indianapolis of Dan Weldon's win in 2011 um, after winning the 500, and he's there on at the start finish line with his car, his wife, and his two kids, and his like Oliver was a baby in that photo, and
That's mad.
a literal baby, and it's
We
hard
don't
to believe
feel
that
old
it's
enough as it
been
is already. Hey, don't pile extra stuff
yeah,
on that.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to believe that it's already been 15 years since we lost Dan Weldon, but
Hmm.
great to see that his son is um,
Starting
really
off in the right way, at least.
punching above his weight class and just showing up and instantly taking podiums. So be fun to see what they can do in a couple weeks. We have another weekend of USF racing here in
Hmm.
Indianapolis, the Carb Night Classic at IRP, which is the small track here in Indianapolis. So we'll get to have some fun watching them again. So speaking of Carb Night Classics and Indy 500, I think being 2 weeks out, we can start talking about long range forecast.
It's
Um,
definitely not going to stop you.
I am not. I I know it's long-term forecast and these often change, but um, for qualifying on Saturday, they're calling for rain in the morning and then clearing off in the afternoon. High of only 70. So if we do get a substantial amount of rain in the morning, it's going to take a while for it to dry out because it's not going to be very warm. And then day two of qualifying, only partly cloudy, but a high of 85. So more in line with what we should expect for race day. The long-term forecast for race day, unfortunately, is calling for uh, showers and thunderstorms
No, in
throughout
fact,
the
it's going to
day.
impact the
So
Weenie 500, mate. We can't be having this.
I can't be having that. Yeah. Well, what is the forecast for the Weenie 500? I will tell you.
I mean, Indy 500 is one thing, but we want the real
You
deal.
want to know really what the weather is. I got it pulled up here. Friday, the 22nd, 42% chance of rain. Showers early, then scattered thunderstorms developing later in the day. Later in the day is when they run the Weenie 500.
Oh,
High of 78. So,
I want to see one of
uh,
those tips. That's not going to be easy to get back up again.
oh man, that would be something to witness, boy. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I do have one special announcement for everybody. We talked about Alexander Rossi at great length in this episode, and his car coming to a stop right at the start finish line and getting out of the car, causing a full course caution. And as he was exiting the car, giving the willpower salute to the flagman. Uh, I'm actually getting to interview the flagman this week at a special Q&A. And so I look forward to sharing uh, insights from that interview with everybody in our next episode. So,
I'm going to be very interested to see what he has to say.
yeah,
Again, he's not expecting prior to the last weekend to have any kind of attention on him whatsoever,
yeah,
and now he's being thrust into the spotlight.
yeah. I signed up for this Q&A. It's just a small group. I think there's going to be 25 of us there, and it's at one of the local public libraries here outside of Indianapolis. And I signed up for it, like, oh, this will be kind of fun just to kind of
Hmm.
get some information.
Oh
How
yeah,
many times you get to talk to the flag man at the
yeah. You
Indianapolis
never know what you
500?
might
Yeah,
learn. Exactly.
yeah. And then this happens. So and so
It was
uh,
foretold.
so now he's got a whole new story to tell us. And so
Hmm.
so I'm really looking forward to that and bringing that information back for everybody in the next episode, which we are going to have a post qualifying episode for you guys next week. So
And we'll have hopefully figured it out by then.
once we figure out what the qualifying format's going to be, we will let you know and let you know how everybody's done in said qualifying. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the rain stays away. We get to see exactly how this format's going to work. We don't have to go to some odd format because of the rain. But we shall
Names
see.
in a hat.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for everybody. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. And for Thiemo and I, we will see you all next time.